In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to make a vest for a boy bunny and a bow tie. Check out my other sock bunny video tutorial. When you pin your pattern pieces down, pin your liner to your facing or your main fabric so that you can cut them out at the same time, because we need to have a liner to line the vest, and that's just going to help us be able to put this vest together with some nice clean edges. And I just realized I made a mistake. The vest front needs to have a V because we want to have an opening here, and we're going to have a bow tie, and my pattern does not allow for it. So I need to add a V, and I like to have it slightly curved. Let me check that. Okay, yeah, that should be good. So I'll just make that correction on my pattern. Now we have our pieces, the liner and the outside. We have 2 for the outside and 2 for the inside, and we're ready to start putting it together. Right sides together. We're going to pin the outside to the inside. We are going to sew around the neck, around the arms, and across the bottom on both pieces. On the sewing machine, it could be done by a needle and thread. It'll just take a little more time. If you don't have a sewing machine, it's a small enough project that you could do it, and it won't be too bad to do it that way. Okay, so you can see that I've sewn it on the neck, around both armholes, and on the bottom. When you're sewing points like this, when you're sewing, put your needle all the way down and then pivot before you do the next angle. Do the same thing there. So the needle should be down when you do that. Now, before we turn these inside out, we need to do some clipping. On this point, we need to put a little slit right close to, but do not break the thread. And we have a curve here. We need to clip the curve. So just put several little, since this is a very small armhole, I have to put them fairly close together. And what that does is it enables it, when it's turned inside out, I want to show you. See how it has these little gaps? I don't know if you can see very well. It'll have these little gaps. See those little spaces right there? See, it wouldn't be able to do that and lay flat without those little gaps. So every time you're sewing any kind of a garment, when you have a curve, you need to clip those curves before you turn it inside out. Now here, there might be extra bulk. So what I'm going to do for this corner is I'm just going to kind of cut it off like that. So when this is inside, it will look like this. It'll help you to get a nice point. And if you don't cut that off, you'll have too much fabric right there, and it will leave a little bump. Okay, so that one's all ready. We have 3 curves on this one. We have the neck, the back of the vest, neck hole, and then we have the 2 armholes. So very carefully, don't be in a hurry to do this, because you might accidentally close the scissors too much and break your thread. If you do break your thread, you're going to have to go back and restitch. And you probably have to stitch it a little bit further in if you have to do that. Make sure you're using good quality fabric scissors. Alright, now we turn it inside out. So getting it started is always the hardest part. Open up the side here and we just kind of shove it all in through that hole, and I'm having difficulties getting it started. Okay, once you get some of it started, it starts to come through a lot easier. And our fingers are big and we're dealing with tiny things, so that's a little bit challenging. I think the smaller things get, the harder it gets to do things like turning them inside out. There's always new challenges with sewing tiny things. Okay, I'm just going to stick my scissors closed and help push out the sides and the shoulder strap. I would not use scissors that are pointed. These have a blunt end, so keeping it closed. Okay, and there is our back. We're going to do the same thing to the front. We have our front and our back pressed. You can see how the edges want to roll. I'm going to take this to the iron and I'm going to press it so that they lay down nice and flat. Whenever sewing garments, always press everything. It just goes to better, so much nicer when you press it. So I'm going to take this to the iron and give it a little press, and we'll be right back. Okay, on the front of the vest, before we attach the two, we need to have buttons, and I'm going to use these little tiny studs. Give you a closer look. This is what the stud looks like. It's rounded, got a little design on it, and then it's got 4 little points. We are going to put 3 of them to represent buttons. I'm going to start with the middle, and we just push those little points through. Can you see the little points sticking through? And then we use a pair of needle nose pliers, grabbing 2 on the opposite sides and bringing them towards the center. And just bend them down so they are down inside stud, and that they're not likely to come off because they're being held by those 4 little points. Trying to keep them about evenly spaced between, and I do have this one slightly, I have put that middle one slightly off because I'm trying to lean over the camera while doing this, and it's always harder, a little more challenging to do something when you're on camera because you want to try really hard to be in the camera view. Okay, so they're slightly crooked. This one should have been slightly to the left, and those are going to represent our buttons for our vest. Now we're ready to put together the front and the back. Now what we need to do is take our raw edges and fold them inside just a little ways. Sometimes it helps to wet the fingertips to help roll the fabric. I just want to check to see how that's going to work. See if that seems pretty good. We'll put a pin in there to hold that. Do the same to the other side. Just try to roll it, the raw edges to the inside, or fold it. Sometimes it's helpful to use a needle. Got some fuzzy edges of the silky fabric sticking out, so I want to shove that in the hole. Okay, let's check it. Make sure it's going to be wide enough to go across. Okay. I think I need a little bit more of a corner on this side. So we'll pull it out and put a pin in it. You don't have to do that to the top, because that's going to go inside of the other. Okay, but the back, we need to fold the edges inside. You may have to put it in further than you think, and then just gradually roll it back out to get it where you actually need it. Okay, put a pin in it, and this is the back to make sure. Now, he is a little wider here than there, so depending on where the vest is going to hit him, you might even have to put it at an angle, which this does need to be at an angle. I think I need to put the top in just a little bit more, because we want it to fit just right, so it's not straight down. See, it's kind of at an angle, and that looks like that's going to work good. The piece of fabric, I think it's only like a 1/8 of a yard or 1/16 of a yard. It's not even very much. It cost me like 25 cents, and it's a satin type fabric. I just wanted to have a variety of colors on hand if anyone places an order for them. I want to make sure we check it. Make sure your ends of your needle are on the outside, that way you can push it all the way in, because it'll be a whole lot easier to check. Okay, this is a little short, so I need to pull it out a little bit more. Alright, let's check it again. Needs to fit right in the seam. Okay, that will work. It might be pull it a little bit snug, but that's okay. Right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to attach this at the shoulders. And to do that, we're going to insert the front into the back. So I want to fold the back raw seams to the inside, and this is even smaller. Yeah, this male bunny is smaller than my other ones so far, so everything that's small is a little bit harder to do. I'm using the pin as a finger to help kind of grab the fabric and push it down inside. And Carlotta steps into the picture. She has to get her little cameo in my video. Okay, I almost got it. I got a couple of threads sticking out. Okay, I think I got it. I'm going to put a pin in it to hold it. So I've folded the raw edges inside. I need to do that to this side. I think I'm putting in a little bit more than needed at the moment. I'll pull it back out once I get it kind of in there. I'll just kind of roll it just a little bit without taking it out. It also helps to pull the needle towards the seam. Okay, I think I have it. Hope I didn't put it in too far. Okay, so the back insides are raw edges are folded inside. Now I'm going to take the front and I'm going to insert it into the hole, hopefully, without messing anything up. I think I'm going to have to use my needle to help grab it and pull it in. I want it to go in about 1/4 of an inch, which isn't very far. And I want to pin it. I'm going to check both sides to make sure it's good. I'm actually going to put a pin on both sides to secure that it's in there. I'll show this to you in just a second. So this is what it looks like. There. It is pinned, and I do believe I can get that over his head. I will be able to squeeze his head because he's very soft. But I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to force it. I want to get it sewed together. And we're going to sew it together with a needle and thread. So I'm going to use the same color thread that had the vest because I don't want the stitches to show. So I'm going to show you how to do a blind stitch. Okay, I've put both ends of the thread through my needle, and I have a loop on the other end. Now I'm going to start on the corner here. I'm going to go catch the front and a tiny bit of the back, and we pull our thread till we come to the loop, put my needle through the loop, and there's our knot. Alright, now I'm going to try to zoom in because I want you to see how we do this. Try to explain with a paper and pencil. Our thread is going to go on the right side a short stitch, and then it's going to go on the left side a short stitch, and the right, and the left, and the right, and the left, and the right, and the left. So, but you don't see it on the fabric because where the thread is actually going to be is, I'm going to just kind of connect this. This is going to be pulled, and you won't even see the thread. And so really, the seam, we'll do another seam. The seam, you'll just have a teensy tiny little stitch in between. There'll be just little tiny stitches. That's the only thing that's going to be seen. Everything, this is underneath. This, it seems like a zigzag. It's actually underneath. You're going underneath, 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 underneath. So the only stitches that could be seen are the ones that's crossing. But it's going to be so small, and it'll pull the two sides together that you won't even see the stitching. So it's only going to look like this when it's all done. That's why it's called a blind stitch. Now I'll see if I can show you with the needle and thread. I'm going to try to show you how to do it with a needle and thread. I take a little stitch, my thread is on the right side, and then we go to the left side and we take a short stitch. So I'm very close to our seam. I've caught the right and the left. I think I can pull this pin out. Now I finished on the left, so I go over to the right, directly across the seam, pick up a short stitch. My thread was underneath. And then we go on the left. We always come out on the opposite side. Oops, caught on the needle. When you pull those stitches and the two fabric comes together, you don't even hardly see the stitches. So left, right, get a short stitch. Now left, we came out right, my thread came out right here, so my needle needs to go in just on the opposite side right beside it. Okay. Now I want to go on the right side using a small needle. I think I can take this pin out and get it out of my way. Alright, back the last stitch on the left. Anything on the back side, it doesn't matter how we stitch. We just need to pull it together. So I'm not going to do the blind hem stitch. Not blind hem, blind stitch. I say that because sometimes I do a blind hem stitch. Okay, I'm just going to sew this together. I'm catching both sides, and I don't care if this thread shows because nobody is going to see the inside of this vest, because once the vest is put on the bunny, it will be permanent. It's together. I just want to make one more stitch so I can make a knot. I leave a small loop, put my needle through that loop and pull tight. And I don't want I could cut my thread right there, but I don't want to leave it near the edge. So I'm just going to take a stitch back to the center here, and I'll cut my thread here. That way it won't stick out. So this is what the seam looks like. You don't even see the stitches. You can hardly see them, so that works out really nice. And this is what the inside looks like. You can see the stitches, but nobody will see it. And I do believe it will fit over his head. Pull his ears through first, and then over his head. And his head is soft and squishy, so hey, that looks really good. And now we are going to sew his vest on. Make sure you push these pins all the way. What's really important, I'm just going to grab one of these just for the moment, just to kind of help hold it. So I'm going to explain something. When you put the vest on, you want to make sure that this is going to line up with that. I got this a little bit too high. You want it to look like it's connected. We are creating an illusion here. The arms are not separate. This is all one solid piece. From his head to his toe, it's one piece. So there are no separate parts. The only thing that's separate are his ears and of course the eyes, which we've connected. So we want to bring these two sides together to look like they are joined. So that is important, how you bring that together. We're going to sew the back on first. I like to start at the bottom of the vest because I've already marked where I wanted it. I've put this out of the way. And when we stitch, you're going to go right in underneath the arm and come out through the front. And then we go back and we catch the back of the vest. I don't need this anymore. And we're just going to make little stitches on which appears to be under the arm as we sew that side on. So the back of our vest is now secure. We'll do the same to the other side, and then we'll do the front of the vest in a very similar way. Okay, the back is sewed on, sewn here and there. Now I'm going to do the front, and we want to start on the lower corner because we want to make sure that that lines up so that this looks like it's connected. You don't want it to be lower or too high because then it won't look connected. So it's really important that you line it up. The front does come down. It does come down. So get it positioned just perfectly before you secure it. And we're going to come out through the back side. Okay, we have that secured. Now I want to take out my pin. before I go too far here. Now we'll just like we did the back, we're going to just take little stitches right on the edge of our fabric. And we do have a folded over edge, so it's been pinned for a little while, so it's holding its place. And the stitches are very close to the edge. They're hardly noticeable because they're under the arm. So that's how we create the illusion that he has this little vest on, and that's because it's attached there, and at the shoulders. That is why I didn't feel it necessary to make two parts to the vest. We just put the buttons on to give that illusion. It's also very easy to kind of push the arm back and forth to get it out of your way. And I'm just using a straight needle. I started off with a shorter one, but I realized a longer needle is a little better since we're going through thickness of the arm. Okay, we got that attached. Now we just need to create a knot. So see how that looks like it's connected right there? So it gives that illusion. Okay, his vest is on. It is secure. It will not come off. And now it's time to make his little bow tie. Thank you for watching, and do check out my other sock bunny video tutorials. I have about a dozen of them. You'll find them on the playlist called Craft Projects, and for whatever part of the bunny that you need help with, if it's the face, if it's the eyes, if it's the ears, the toes, he doesn't have toes, the vest, sweaters, sculpting the arms, whatever it is, there is a video on that playlist that will help you if you need a little extra help. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.